Hello, everyone. I hope you are doing well today. We've just received the first roadmap update for 2025, and I think it is an awesome info drop. There's some great news for 4.1, including some secret content that I think we already know what it is. And we also got plenty of news on what is being worked on behind the scenes. Before we get into it, if you like what I'm doing here, feel free to subscribe and or become a channel member if you'd like to go that extra mile. Hop into the Discord server if you'd like to as well. Besides that though, let's hop into the new roadmap news. Without taking up too much time, let's talk about what is coming in for 4.1. First things first, under the characters tab, we have two new cards. This first one is really exciting, and that is a redacted mission giver and a redacted armor set. A new mission giver is something that will really help with some of the narrative content that is releasing, and I am genuinely excited for this. This mission giver and this new armor set are going to be part of a redacted event that I'm almost positive I already know what it is. Regarding the armor set, though, this could be a handful of things, but I do think it will be a reward for this new event. Most likely some sort of pyro themed armor set. Moving on to the gameplay card, we have new space combat missions. Now, the description of this talks about improved scenario design and refined storytelling, and though that gives us basically no info on the missions and what they actually entail, I'm super excited for some more variety amongst the missions we already have. These missions aren't scheduled for the first release of 4.1, but will come shortly after in a 4.1.x patch. I will let you know that this next card, though, could be a really big thing. The title of this card is Redacted Sandbox Activity. The description states that this is an open ended activity blending on foot exploration with aerial support and offers opportunities for daring teams. I don't mean to assume too much, but this seriously sounds like it could be monster hunting. Now, of course, I could be wrong, but it does check off a lot of the boxes for the way they wanted this to be implemented in the game. CIG devs have stated that they didn't want the Valacar to be introduced through any sort of Mobiglass mission, hence what I believe is the reason why they have a mission giver. And they made it clear that this type of event will involve steps leading up to the Apex Valacar. Of course, I could be wrong about this, but given how far along in the development the Valacar was at CitizenCon, I think we are on the cusp of receiving our first form of monster hunting. I would love to hear your thoughts on this though in the comments. The next tab is the locations, and we have three new locations coming with 4.1. The first is the redacted mission giver location. Now, this description talks about offering a new hub for players to engage in opportunities. We obviously know that this will be related to the sandbox activity, what I think is the monster hunting mission. But from the description, I think it could also be a place for CIG to bring and host more mission givers in the game. Either way, I'm excited about this. The next card is a neat one, and that is the Hather Ground Alignment Stations. The description is really cool. It mentions strategically placed outposts, providing key infrastructure and sandbox gameplay. This sounds like it will be a big part of how possibly Pyro could change over this year. Not super familiar with the lore here, though, so don't count me on that, but I'm sure these locations will offer some cool gameplay. The next card follows the last one very well, that being the Hathor Mining Station. This is seemingly one station that will hover over a single planet. My first thought is that this location will absolutely be a part of the way Pyro changes over this year. Given that this thing has a massive mining laser attached to it, it gives me the impression this location will be very important for the narrative. Now, part of me also thinks that this could be associated with Stanton. The actual picture of the station above the planet, it doesn't really look like a Pyro planet, but it is pretty hard to tell from just that picture, so we'll have to see, but, it's not guaranteed to be in Pyro, but that's my first thought that it's gonna be in Pyro. The last 2 cards are simple and really cool, that being the 2 new Volt weapons, or 2 of the new Volt weapons. The Volt AR Parallax and the Volt SMG Quartz. And it's a little bit disappointing because we're not gonna see the other 2 Volt weapons mentioned in the latest comm dive, but I'm still super excited for these weapons. It is important to note that the Volt SMG Quartz is going to be coming in a 4.1.x patch, maybe with these space combat missions as well, but, we'll at least get the Volt AR at the full release of 4.1. Now, before we move on to what they put into the actual 1.0 column, I wanted to actually give an update on the progress tracker. It gives us a decent idea of what CIG is working on and has a few teases as to what we might get towards the end of the year. First things first, we have a small update on those missing features for 4.0. Not all of them, but we know that charge and drain, engineering, and life support were all put back on the progress tracker. These features also sat next to new ones being radiation and FPS scanning. I know it's disappointing to not get this too soon, but I think we are looking at a possible Q3 release for these features. All these features still look to have scheduled work up until the end of May. Now, of course, this doesn't mean we will for sure get them after May, but I'm fairly confident that we'll see them around Q3, maybe Q4. Now, they also added base building and crafting to this, which is exciting to see. Crafting has work until the end of August and base building until the end of October. I suppose there is a possibility that we see crafting before base building, but either way, it's great to know that these are being worked on right now. CIG also added a few additions that are already a part of 4.1, that being the new Mission Giver and Sandbox activity. Nothing much to learn here other than the work is scheduled till the end of March. I think we all kind of assume that 4.1 is probably going to be late March, early April, if it doesn't get delayed, but I don't think there's much news right there. And finally, we have some neat updates to the 1.0 column in the release view. Now, there has been some confusion around the community about this, so let me put everything straight real quick. CIG has added these cards to the 1.0 column not because they're pushing back features to 1.0 when it releases, but simply to show us the vague outline of what 1.0 will offer us. So just because we see it in the 1.0 column doesn't mean we won't get it sooner or later. That being said, CIG added these features to the 1.0 panel for now. I'm going to give you in one straight line, but it starts with control surfaces, quantum boost, item misfire and wear, fire hazard, charge and drain, life support, engineering gameplay, solar flares, vehicle radar and scanning rework, FPS radar and scanning, hangar upgrades, weapon overheat, radiation, and location repair missions. Now, there isn't a ton to note here other than the fact that they're just addressing that these are going to be a part of 1.0 no matter what. And at some point, they will be moved from that 1.0 column to another 4.x patch of sorts. I do think the ones that are worth noting, I suppose, are the hangar upgrades. We haven't really discussed that at all. And they haven't really talked about what, I mean, I guess in the past they have, but in current times, they haven't really talked about what that entails too much. So that'll be exciting to understand. Weapon overheating. This makes me think that the Volt weapons are going to still have a pretty basic weapon overheating system. I still don't really understand what this card entails because we do have weapon overheating in the game. It just maybe is not as advanced as they would like it. It's nice to see the vehicle radar and scanning rework as well. Not much information there other than the fact that it's going to happen. And everything else, it's nice to add it to the actual 1.0 column, but there isn't really much to say other than the fact that, it'll be coming at some point. And it's nice to see that at least they are addressing some of these things so we know that they still have it on their schedule. Now, before we wrap things up, I wanted to address the Theaters of War stuff. I know that there's a lot of conversation about that because of these Hathor mining stuff was related to Theaters of War in the past before. I don't know much about Theaters of War. I really don't know how much that entails, like how it could be associated with the PU. If it is, and it could be, that's cool, but I am pretty convinced that it's going to be the Valakar we're getting in 4.1, and I would love you guys to hold me to that. If it's not, you know, feel free to poke fun at me for that. But I also think it's really nice to see engineering and stuff like that. We at least know that these things are being worked on. I really am convinced engineering and the couple other 4.0 features that were on the progress tracker, I'm convinced those are going to come within this year. So I think we have a nice update to that. At least we know that it hasn't been completely forgotten like some of those features become. So I'm thankful for that at the very least. Besides that, I appreciate you being here. I just wanted to put out a short but slightly more positive video about what's going on with this game. I know that the community's kind of been very heated with what's going on with the PvE, PvP stuff. So spreading some more positivity and excitement about the game, I think is helpful. But trying to just keep it a little bit more positive in the community. Besides that, though, again, if you'd like to become a channel member, support the channel. We really appreciate that. You being here is more than enough. If you liked the video, feel free to like it, dislike it. If you didn't, feel free to leave your comments about 4.1. What do you think is coming with this patch? Am I crazy for thinking the same word's coming? Again, hold me to it because I'm convinced. But besides that, though, again, thank you so much for being here. I'll get some more videos out soon. And besides that, I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.